Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very, very much hope that this video finds you well and in very, very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And now I'd like to continue on with answering the really lovely viewer questions submitted by you a few months back. So thank you so much once again, so much for your expressing an interest in what it is I might have to say about a given topic or a particular question. I'm very moved by that, and so thank you very much indeed. And the next question that we have here is from, let's see, it's going to be, and please pardon me for if I pronounce your name incorrectly, but is it Aidan Cseh? And so Aidan, so hello, and thank you very much for your very kind question. And you say, hi Daisuke, as someone who just recently took the dive into cinema, you've been a massive help for me, and I really admire your videos. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you. And please continue to enjoy your cinema journey, and please keep us updated as to what that cinema journey is made up of. I'd love to hear. Anytime, my friend. And you continue. You say, personally, my favorite side of film has been slow cinema, and wanted to know, other than Andrei Tarkovsky and Bela, what are some filmmakers in this genre that you would recommend? What are your thoughts on Satantango or Satantango? It's my personal favorite film and can't really see it being surpassed in terms of what it taught me about what a film could be. Oh, that's very, very interesting question or set of questions. So thank you very much. I think, let's see, how shall I approach this? Okay, well, I can tell you let me speak to the first question, which is, are there any other films in what is often regarded as this, I'm not sure genre is the correct word, but maybe a type of a cinematic style or technique, often referred to as quote-unquote slow cinema. Now, before I proceed, I should say that I understand the use of the term, and I understand it very much. I probably wouldn't necessarily use it myself per se in general conversations about, let's say, cinema that has, or works of cinema that have a certain, say, running time, and whose subject matter tends to be maybe about or focusing in on, say, the passage of time or the effects of the passage of time on say, the plot or the emotional states of the characters that are the subject matter of the film. So I understand the application of the term, and I think it's a great term. I would probably personally use maybe different approach to that particular concept. But that being said, I understand 100% as to what you are saying. And it's really a great approach and great viewpoint on cinema. And the questions are really lovely. And so your first question is, it's a really interesting timing, because, as a matter of fact, I'm actually on this channel at the moment engaged in trying to have a number of discussions on the filmmaker who is Angelopoulos, Theo Angelopoulos. And Angelopoulos' works, I think, are oftentimes, or not all of them, but maybe at least a number of them at least, they have, as far as I understand, they have oftentimes been described as being part of what could be termed the so-called slow cinema movement, or slow cinema approach to cinema making or filmmaking. And so I could recommend the works of Angelopoulos if you are able to access them and watch them, because I understand also at the moment they're a little bit difficult to watch or to acquire or to obtain. But if you are able to get them, I would strongly recommend seeing a number of them. The Angelopoulos films are really wonderful, and in fact, I'm right now in the midst of preparing what I hope to be a discussion that will be uploaded on this channel very soon on on one of his earlier works in his in his filmography, which is called The Traveling Players, and I think that film could be, and perhaps is often described as being, or not often, but maybe has in the past been described as being an example of so-called or quote slow cinema, because it does involve the idea of the passage of time and the sweep of history, and how to capture that within the frame of cinema, and you feel the way in which time passes in this sweep, and the way that people glide and walk through the frame, and they walk across, say, a certain courtyard or a certain part of the town in question, and then we see how that turns into something that is not just about the passage of time at the particular moment, but how that links to the passage of time in past years. And it's really you can feel it in the air. You can almost taste it, as it were. It becomes this concrete thing, which is amazing, because time, as we know, is so anti-concrete. It is the thing that it is so it's difficult to grasp, right? It is impossible to grasp. I mean, it's one of the great endeavors of human. It's one of the great endeavors of human spirit that has been captured in film, fiction, and art, right? The ability to try to capture the powers of time travel, going back in time, etc. But of course, it's not possible, at least as far as the real world technology that we have today in terms of capturing time. But there's that essential maybe feeling or instinct to want to somehow control time. But there's a beautiful way that cinema can do this, right? This idea that the way that the time sweeps and it turns, and there's a way that it connects, and it seems to loop back sometimes, but maybe it doesn't loop back at all. Maybe it is inevitable. It just keeps going and going. But there is a sense of the inexorable and inevitable, but there's also something of the poetic and beautiful at the same time. And of course, the passage of time, as I say, is linked to our own existence, because it is marking the steps forward towards what will be the eventual, say, end of one's life, or the end of what one might perceive to be a type of form of existence. And so therefore time and the passage of time and the feeling of time becomes so important in the context of, say, art and fiction, and indeed in cinema. And so I think in that way, I understand, that's my viewpoint of one of the powers, or one of the great powers of the so-called slow cinema movement. And again, maybe I hesitate to use the term in my own discussions, but I understand exactly what you're talking about. And so it's a great question, or at least I think I understand what you're talking about. If I've made any mistakes, please, of course, correct me along the way. But that might be an example. Number two, and what are your thoughts on Satantango or Satantango? And so I admit that I have always wanted to speak more about the works of, say, Bela Tarr. I haven't done so on this channel at all, unfortunately, and that's my own regret and error and shame. But I'd really love to. I admit that I'm not maybe I wouldn't call myself at all the biggest expert when it comes to, say, the works of Bela Tarr or Hungarian cinema writ large. But I have seen this work, Satantango or Satantango, a number of times, and it's, I mean, you don't need me to tell you. It's truly awe-inspiring. It is really awe-inspiring. It's been one of my hopes, maybe one of these days, to try in some form or another to talk actually about that work, and also in the context of of the written material as translated into English, the Laszlo Krasznahorkai works. So I'm not sure how that can be integrated, but maybe because I'm also I think that relationship is so key and one of the most dynamic aspects of an engagement with the work Satantango or Satantango. So I don't know. Maybe one of these days we can try to, or I can try to approach it. Once again, I can't claim to have any feel. I don't have any claim of expertise when it comes to this particular work, but I have seen it a number of times and I have reacted to it a number of times, and it's always been a feeling of being, well, it's an extraordinary work, and I one of these days maybe it might be very interesting to try to address that work. Maybe I was thinking in my head maybe it could be separated into, say, chapters, because it's that sort of thing. But I haven't really fully thought it through. But one of these days, maybe it might be worth considering. But in any event, thank you very much for your lovely question or set of questions. And I hope you are well. So once again, please, I apologize so profusely if I got your name saying incorrectly. It's Aidan Cseh, and so please, once again, my deepest apologies to you, my dear friend. I hope you're not offended. Please correct me at any time, of course. And of course, my dear friend, thank you for those great questions. They are fantastic, and I hope that you are well and that you continue to watch a lot of great movies. And so until we meet again, thank you and cheers.